DNA channel. Money DNA is a financial fitness community where we bring everything about money and beyond money concepts in life to help you create healthy money habits and to be financially fit for good. It is important to understand that the advice is general in nature and does not take into account your personal objectives, financial needs, and overall well-being situation, and it may not be appropriate for you.
Hi everyone, it's Winnie here. Thank you for tuning into Money DNA. We'll be looking at finding your trusted lending partner, bankers versus brokers. Join me today is Vorleak Srey at Vorleak Finance Advisory Services. Vorleak has been in finance and banking industry for 16 years, and in 2021, Vorleak brought her rich experience and knowledge and started her own experience and also her business via Finance Advisory Services, which provides various of finance solutions and small business planning and advisory services to her customers. Welcome to Money DNA again.
Thanks, Winnie. It's nice to be back.
Thank you. I'm not really sure why I just all of a sudden mumbling with things. So, I will just started with this episode with all of a sudden I think about our circumstances in life. So you and I had experienced quite a bit of changes in the last 2 years in personal life and also professional life, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so, Winnie. Quite a lot actually, from, like you're saying, professional to personal. In terms of professional, be a lot of different career changes, and they're quite big leaps from, say, a large corporation to going out on your own as such. Yeah. Which can be lonely, but also very rewarding at the same time.
Yeah, that's exactly what people always said about running a business. It could be quite lonely, but at the same time, if you do the right thing and also if that is aligned with your passion and also your experience, actually could be quite rewarding. And when you decided to make that jump, it actually is a very daunting process, I will say.
Yes, it's been quite a journey the last 12 months.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I think that every time when we talked about the experiencing some of the changes, our clients are also experiencing the same thing. So whenever they are going to have some changes in their life, we strongly suggest people to review what they got, including their finance. So when we're looking at reviewing, especially with all the lending commitments or the daily expenses commitments, are going to be one of the key things for us to review. Now, when we are looking at all the reviews, especially with the lending, whether it's credit card, home loan, personal loan, business needs, I think that one of the things that people are trying to ask is, okay, I know this is really important. I really need to find someone to do it. So who should I go to? And that's why I thought that today we can also talk about this, finding someone as a trusted lending partner for you. And also touch on with what is the difference with the bankers and also the brokers. I couldn't even think of anyone better than you to talk about this. So can you just give us a little bit of rundown with what is a banker and what is a broker then?
Yeah, so it's a really good question, actually, Winnie, because there are a lot of customers or people that will say, well, should I go through the bank directly or should I go through a broker, and what is the difference as such? Yeah. And so I'll just start from, I guess, the very beginning and wind it straight back. So, what is a banker and what is a broker? And just so we're on the same page, we're typically focusing on the retail consumer home loan space here, rather than the role, say, commercial or corporate banker, although fundamentally it is the same, just a different type of customers. So a banker is someone who represents a specific bank or lender. They are directly employed on the payroll to the bank to service bank customers and potential new clients to the bank on the bank's home loan offerings and its products and its features. A broker essentially works for the customer itself, also paid by the bank, however, in the means of commissions, though, on each and every loan that's settled. A broker does not represent one specific bank or lender, but a broker normally generally has access to 20 or 30 different lenders across their panel and a wide range of products. So both bankers and brokers are paid by the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Both are bounded by the same lending policies by that particular lender,
Yep.
and the same regulations such as best interest duty. You might have heard that a lot in the industry lately. NCCP, which is National Consumer Credit Protection, and both have continuing education and professional development that's required to be attained and maintained throughout their careers to be able to provide specific personal advice. So both have really high compliance audits that's required to be met. Bankers' compliance file checks are internally within the bank that they're employed by, and brokers' compliance checks are across, I guess, all the different lenders that they do have access to, plus on top of that, their aggregated compliance. So brokers actually have a high level of compliance requirements to uphold. So yeah, I guess that's the differences between bankers and brokers.
Yeah, thank you for this thorough discussion and also the explanation. I think that a lot of people will just say now, oh, if I go to the bank, it seems like it's going to be more secured. But if I go to a broker, maybe I will have some wide range of the products. And in either way, it's all true. And I have to say that the reason we talk about this today is not going to say that which one is going to be better. You have to really find what is going to be the one which will more suitable for your scenario. And I think one of the things that we also mentioned about banker and broker, we have certain of the similarities applied. For example, you mentioned about the professional studies and knowledge that you have to attend and maintain. One of the things that I will remind or being reminded when I was starting as a financial planner before is my mentor actually said to me that it doesn't really matter where I work, I still need to have a high standard to meet, which is a financial planning duty. So I think that with the banker and broker, it doesn't really matter what that is. It is really important to find someone that you feel that you can trust and also feel like that is going to do your best interest. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I think, going back to that, to wrap that up, relationship is so important. And we talk about trust and finding somebody that you can trust. When you're dealing with people's finances, you are going through a journey with them, and it could be a first home buyer, going on to investment, going into starting their own business. And as things grow, you want to have that relationship and that trust within the person that you're dealing with in order to get you there in the right places with the right advice involved. And as you mentioned, whether it's a banker or a broker, both of them are just as important as each other within the industry itself to be able to provide that level of competition and diversity. But it's about finding the right person for you that suits you and your personality and your needs.
Yeah. And also one of the things that you touch on with the relationship, I will say that relationship is so important with whatever business or whatever experience you are going to have. Personally, I went through IVF. I think that all the medication are going to be the same. Doctors' knowledge are going to be the same. But if someone is going to hold my hands to go through this process, which is also very scary, that will actually make me feel calmer and also know what I'm going to expect. Same thing as earlier you mentioned about first home buyer. I remember a couple of the episodes you mentioned about mortgage, which is 30 years of relationship or commitment. That is such a big thing for a family or a person. If you got a really good relationship with that person, it definitely is going to really ease the pain and also the anxiety through the journey.
Yeah. So Winnie, a key take out of what you just said then is, which is a really good pickup, is the fact that, for you when you're going through IVF, all the medication, the processes are all the same, but you're dealing with a whole bunch of different professionals behind the scenes that's holding your hand through. So it can be really much relatable back to finance, is that all the bank's products, all the bank's services and offerings are very much the same. It is the individual that you deal with behind it all that will make a difference in terms of making that process easier, more effective, or giving you that level of information and guidance that you need.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, speaking of person, do you mind if I ask you, because earlier we said that you are probably the best person to talk about this topic, is because you actually to the different firms, to be from the banker to the broker. Do you mind to share your experience about making this such a big decision for yourself then?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started my career with the National Australia Bank, and I was there for 11 years. I worked as a teller all the way up through into business banking with NAB. And then from there, I went over to Westpac in that commercial banking space. And I was there for about two years and 9 months or something like that. So we'll call it 3 years.
Yeah.
And what I learned through that process, two big major banks, very similar expectations, KPIs, similar organizational structure, same roles, they just call it different things. Even the same acronyms and lingo were used. And, I was in Darwin for a bit doing some FIFO banking and had a portfolio of clients up there. Went back to Perth and worked in the CBD team here. So it was quite a change in clientele and whatnot. COVID happened, so that's the reason for the change from, say, Darwin over to Perth. But what I found was that no matter where I went, I was really restricted in what I did. Mm-hmm. And being able, I guess the offerings that I was able to give to clients was really restrictive because whether it was Westpac or NAB, these policies were very set, and it was hard to I guess not change those policies. They're there for a reason, but knowing that, this customer needs help, and we know that across the road at Bankwest or at CBA, they've got a different policy that is very specific to clients like this. So if they just went across the road, we better get it done. That was what was frustrating, was that I represented a particular bank and I couldn't say, hey, look, I can't do this for you, but let me help you and take you over to Commonwealth Bank, where I know that they've got really great policies for people like you. So it was a really daunting process, I guess, after 15 years of working for large corporations. I decided to make that change into the unknown. So it's been 12 months now, and they always say that the first 12 months is the most challenging, but it has been challenging, but it's also been, like I said before, really rewarding in the sense that I've got such a diverse clientele now, whereas before, if I was working at, say, Westpac commercial, I'd only deal with commercial clients. I couldn't, deal with the mums and dads that wanted a home loan or starting a new business and things like that. Whereas now I can take on clients that need specific help, that are aligned with my core values and my skill sets. And that's the thing that actually gives me that great job satisfaction, is to be able to have that availability and help people through that journey.
Yeah, and that is so important. And sorry, while you're talking, I just really want to shout out with the great efforts Vorleak has been doing for her clients. So even though she is running for her business for within 12 months, she already won the award for 2021 winner. And I was just trying to find that logo there as a fast service awards. And it's just to show that sometimes when you are dealing with someone, you need to make sure that that person understands about what they are doing. But at the same time, also very important thing is that always put the customer's best interest at heart. So I think that one of the things I wanted to do is, apart from earlier we touched on with the banker and the broker's differences in terms of the roles. And again, I couldn't emphasize enough is when you are dealing with the person, you are dealing with the relationship. So it doesn't really matter whether you are going to go with a banker or a broker. We're not trying to emphasize which one is going to be better or not. Just give you a little bit of idea about what the differences are and also similarity. Now, we touch on with the similarity. We touch on with the difference with the bankers. I want to go back to the customer's face. So the customers, of course, wanted to know is, earlier you touched on with the product itself. You said that across the world that maybe we'll have a different products suitable for that kind of clientele. I guess that as a consumer, there are a couple of things that I actually will be care about or concerned about when I consider about comparison. One will be the product itself, and also what will be the bank's policy, if there is any. The most important thing I would say is, what about the fees and interest rates? Last thing is, how long do you think that you are going to have it done? So can we just sort of break it down into this 4 for us?
Yeah, for sure, Winnie. So if we touch on product range itself, bankers will only better offer that lender's product and its features. Say, for example, Westpac, they don't have offset accounts on fixed rate loans and can only offer one offset linked to one loan. Whereas Bank West, on the other hand, can offer partial offset accounts on fixed rate loans up to 40% and can have multiple offsets up to 10 from memory linked to that same loan. So if you're, say, a barefoot investor advocate and you have your money in different buckets everywhere, then you might require that ability to have multiple offsets onto your loan account because of the way that you manage your money.
Definitely.
Yeah. So bankers and banks, I guess, have a selection of products. But brokers, on the other hand, have an eye across a large section of the market with a wider range of products because it is across 20 or 30 different lenders.
Yep. That's pretty good summary with the product itself. And I think that, like you said, everyone's need is different. So like earlier you mentioned about if someone is going to diversify into a different bucket, maybe having a multiple offset account is going to be better. Some people actually just wanted to have something simple and straightforward kind of approach. Maybe one offset account is going to be good. So the most important thing is having that discussion and also conversation with your banker or brokers. What about the policy then?
So policy, so although most lenders have very similar expectations in the way of assessment for a home loan application, which, as mentioned in our previous episodes, are character, capacity, and collateral.
Yep.
It's not always exact same on how they assess each part of it to get to approval stage, though. So capacity and income assessment, the likes of the National Australia Bank, Commonwealth, Westpac, for example, if you're a casual employment, would require you to be in that role for a minimum of 12 months prior to that income being considered.
Yep.
Whereas, say, a non-conforming like Pepper or Liberty, for example, will only require 6 months worth of history. Self-employed customers, for example, at ANZ will only require 18 months worth of trading, whereas all the other major banks will require at least 2 full years. And then you can go to, again, a non-conforming that might only require 1 year. So depending on what stage you are in terms of your income and what your income is, policy is really, really important because you might go to one bank and that policy doesn't fit you, whereas you know that there is another lender that, for your specific situation might better definitely fit that need for you. And that's just one example of income. Another quick example, say, is like, a first home buyer. You only have enough to deposit, to cover the 5% that is required as a minimum, plus stamp duty costs, but not enough to cover lender's mortgage insurance that's applicable on anything above 80%. Most lenders will only go up to a maximum of 95%, including lender's mortgage insurance. But then you have the likes of Bank West, which is, pretty big out there. They can capitalize lender's mortgage insurance up to 98%. So if you're just shy, you've got the ability to do that with Bank West, but no other banks.
Right.
So in summary, banks and bankers, you must fit within their policies, whereas brokers will find you the right lender and the right policies that fit you.
And I also think that with the different banks and also lenders, they have their own different appetite. And with the appetite, some of the banks probably will be more focusing on the small and medium size of customers. Some are going to be focusing more about dad and moms kind of consumers lending side of things. And because of that, maybe the restrictions or maybe the appetite itself is going to be a little bit different. So I agree with you that when it comes to the policy itself, you probably also need to search around or even have a discussion with a broker because they will know more about that than you.
Yeah, exactly. And banks' appetites change consistently, which means their goalpost changes. And talking about goalposts, going back to their policies and requirements. So, policy is probably one of the hardest things to research if you are a consumer out there looking for a home loan, because it's easy enough to find the bank's interest rates and their products online on their website, but quite difficult to understand their policies and how they relate to you.
Now, speaking of interest rate, so what would be the difference with the interest rate and fee? I assume that lots of people are just hoping that, if you are going to give me a better rate, I will go with that particular person. So is there any role in place that you are going to have more bargaining power in terms of the interest rate?
Good question. So, I mean, do a lot of people know what is a good rate out there? So you might have some customers that are quite very educated and savvy and understanding what a good rate out in the market looks like, and I'm not going to settle for anything more. But a lot of the time, that's what customers and people are coming to you for, is that help and understanding. So just like products and policies, each bank will have their own set of interest rates specific for that particular product they offer. Most banks or bankers will expect that the customer will negotiate with them when they walk into the bank, or just expect to be given the advertised rate that they've got. Brokers tend to go in requesting the lowest rate possible out in the market by providing pricing comparisons between competitor banks. And that's because brokers generally, have seen the market trend, are dealing multiple different banks at the same time. So they know exactly where that perfect pricing point sits in terms of appetite. In terms of fees, banks again will have their own set of application fees, settlement fees, administration fees, which is passed on to all customers and to all customers of brokers. However, banks might have products that attract no fees, such as no account keeping fees or no application fees. So if you are that customer that requires just that one simple home loan, like you said, Winnie, earlier, then you might need to find a lender that offers a no fee product on a loan as such. Fees for brokers and bankers are the same across channels, to be honest. So it's only the lender, like if the lender has a campaign where they're waiving those fees, then it's passed on to customers, and that's generally passed on to all customers across, whether it's a direct channel of the bank or through the broker channel itself.
That's really interesting. Okay, very last one is the time frame. I think that when we were working in the bank, I think that most of the consumer probably don't really know that the banks are having a channel, like you said, are dealing with the direct bankers that they employed, and they also have a channel to focus on the brokers themselves. After all, even the broker is not really working for the bank, they are still partially represent, or what they are going to potentially represent their products to their consumers. So they also need to look after them well. Now, what about the time frame? Would they say that, because, this is the application being submitted by the banker, then I'll have to deal with that right away because they are my bank's customers? Or is it because it's a broker's application, I need to look at right away? Is there any time difference between that?
A very, very good question. So, yes, banks or lenders have different channels for brokers and for direct applications through the bank itself. But each channel has very specific SLAs that they have to meet. So, my understanding is that there is no preference in terms of it's coming directly from the bank. It has to be looked at first. Absolutely not, because it's going that particular channel, and that channel will have its own SLAs between one step to the next step to the next step, and the same thing as for the broker channel itself. So I guess the main differences are, and time frame. This one is particularly important to me because I feel that a lot of people out there just think about interest rates and fees, but don't take into account the time frame, which could be really important to their particular situation. And if I look at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, and the banks were struggling, they were backlogged with applications where some were taking 21 days to even pick up a file and look at it. And this was due to major disruptions in staffing, where processing departments that were overseas were shut down, like India and the Philippines.
Yep.
Since then, a lot of the banks have onboarded more people to keep up with the demand. And it took back a lot of onshore processes at the same time.
Yep.
So to provide a specific example of timeframes, Bankwest right now is currently working on 6 days to allocate a file.
Wow, 6 days. That's fast.
Yeah. 6 days, what used to be 1 day. And before that, they were so backlogged with the demand of applications because they were so quick and the interest rates were so sharp, their fixed rates, that it was taking them 21 days. So they've got it down to 6 days again. ANZ at the moment has actually gotten a lot better. They were well known to be the worst in the market for timeframes, but now they're down to 3 days for simple files and 10 days for complex files. So consequently, going to a bank direct, you must conform to the bank's current SLAs and turnaround time based on their current demand systems and processes. Brokers have the ability to filter through which lender, depending on the urgency of your situation, your file, where to place it. So it might mean like NAB, for example, at the moment has a 1 day pickup turnaround time. So if you know that you're really short on time and you need to get this file looked at ASAP, then potentially going to the National Australia Bank might be a better option across all the other lenders, purely just because you're, bringing back down that time frame from, say, 6 days to 1 day.
Yeah. Beautiful. I think that one of the things I have to say is everyone's scenarios is going to be quite different. And because of that, as a consumer, you have perfect right to compare and also search around things. We don't mind people to shop around, but the most important thing is, what are you shopping for? And what is going to be the priority for you? Like the other day, one of my clients was saying that, what should I do? How should I find the information? But if you don't even know what kind of question you are going to ask, you are not going to find the right answer. Same thing as when you are going to find the trustworthy person, ask yourself, what is going to be your priority? So I think that through this key and also thorough discussion we have today, and thank you so much for your knowledge and also your sharing, V. I feel like we are going to give people a little bit of understanding about the difference with the bankers and broker. I think that before we even recorded this, our intention is never going to say that, because you want to have a lending, you have to go to bankers or have to go to brokers, because you can find those kind of videos anywhere you want. But what we're trying to do is having a very general ideas about what options you have, and also give you some ideas about what the difference is and also the similarity with, so that you are going to find the needs that is going to fit into your situation, and then find the right person for you. So I guess that's probably going to be my key takeaway. What about yours then?
Yeah, so you've hit the nail on the head there, Winnie. I think it's very much the same in finding the right person that suits you and your needs. And I'll give you an example. I had a client or reach out to me and say, "Hey V, I heard that you could help me with this. I've had some great feedback. I just want to let you know that I'm speaking to a few other brokers as well, and I just want somebody that's going to give me the best deal." And my response back to him was, look, if you're already speaking to a few other brokers, I believe he was in contact with about 3 others as well, and it is just the best deal that you're after, I'm probably not the right person for you. How I operate is very different in the sense that, all the banks will offer the same discretion and same level of approval when it comes to pricing to every single broker that's out there. It's about understanding what actually is the best deal, because you might get the lowest interest rate but still be paying higher interest in the long term because it's not being structured correctly to your needs. So, I think it's not just about rates. It's not just about, what product. You've really got to find the right person that understands you and goes through that process with you.
Yeah, so true. I know that personally, having that relationship and also someone that I can bounce some ideas to is going to be so important. So even if that means that I have to pay a little bit extra, I'm happy with that. But definitely not going to be suitable for everybody. If you are going to have a tight budget and also have a very simple needs, maybe having some simple solution is going to be the best idea. So I guess that one of the things that we open up this idea about having this discussion of the bankers and brokers, there are lots more information and also lots more of discussion around the home lending side of things that we can share with you. And V has so much that she can also share with you as well. So if you like what we share and this and also the content is going to be benefit for anyone that you know, please like and share and subscribe this channel so that you can help us to grow. And at the same time, if you are going to have any of questions or feedbacks about this content, please also leave your content or questions at the comment section below, and we're going to come back to you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching, and please keep yourself financially fit and healthy. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.